John DeNicola, thank you for coming on Guitar Tales tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, David. Thanks for having me.
We've spent about 5 minutes on our Zoom call, and I just already felt like it was gold, so we had to start recording.
Oh, yes, we should have got it earlier, right?
Yeah. So here's something I never thought I'd say in Guitar Tales. You are our second Academy Award winner on the show. I never
But
thought we'd even have one. Of
did the other one be Frankie? No, Frankie
course.
Credit? Oh,
Yep.
okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he doesn't have guitars.
He did not have guitars.
He's not a guitarist.
No, so you were starting to just wet my whistle with what you have in there. I was complimenting you on how nice your space is there. I mean, mine is like I practice law here all day, and then I just clear all my paper out of the way so I could do this.
Cool.
But you've got wait. Why don't you tilt your computer over? Just show us the studio you've got here.
Well, there's the old, let me turn it on so it looks cooler.
Oh, look at that.
There's a 2-track which I use to delay my voice signal for the big reverb that's up in the back of the barn. And that's all the hardware and
Wow.
and then let's see if we can get over here. Here's the console and then I don't know, can you see out in the barn? You probably can't.
A little bit, yeah. I could see through there a bit.
The big old hayloft, which is where we set up the drums and such, and a little glimpse of some guitars there.
Wow.
Oh wait, you might like this too.
All right, let's take a look. Oh, I love that old box over there. Look at that grill. That grill's been through a lot, huh?
Yeah, it's an old 60s AC30. There's a Watkins, if you know what Watkins is.
I do not.
They kind of predated the Marshall. Marshall kind of took Watkins vibe and took it from there.
I love that pale blue cabinet there.
Yeah, that's very cool.
It's super. What does that just have like an 8 in it?
Yes.
Wow.
But it records like a monster. There is a 50, oh, I don't even know.
Is that a Princeton or Champ?
This is a deluxe.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, I should have realized. I mean, the place is kind of a mess right now, but
that's all right.
There's I love this Marshall
yeah.
combo. I don't know the model of that. JMP, it's a 50-watt Marshall with 212s, and if I want that chunkier sound, this is great for, kind of any kind of rock, Eric Clapton rock. But if you want the chunkier stuff, I have a sealed cabinet, and I just take the output of the amp and then there's this. I know it's a guitar show, but we're looking at amps.
No, I love this. Yeah.
Here's Silvertone.
Nice.
I use, there's an old custom.
Wait, is that a Bandmaster on top?
It's actually a dual Showman, which I use for bass.
Oh, because I used to own. I think I owned that for guitar because I got it cheap, that one.
What, the dual Showman?
Yeah, well, I know it was a Fender head made for bass, but I thought I had a Bandmaster. Is the Bandmaster?
Would it have been a Bassman?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, Bassman. Yeah. I have what they call a Bassman, not the piggyback one, the tweed one up in the other side of maybe we could take a walk up there, only because I don't know if your listeners are familiar with an EMT reverb.
No.
Story behind that. It's what the first reverb they had other than a big room,
Right.
The early days, all they did was put a mic in a room and send a signal into it, bounce it around, and that was your reverb. This was the first, with
a real spring inside a chamber.
Actually, no, this is a giant 4x8 piece of metal, thin metal,
right.
And they send the signal to that, and it radiates out, and that was the first reverb. It was made in West Germany.
So is the reverb actually using the metal as a speaker almost?
It's using it as to make it would, if you know what a spring reverb is.
Yeah.
What the springs do, this is what the metal is doing. There's right. Two. There's something that sends the signal to the big piece of metal. I wish I could explain it better. And then there's two microphone pickups, I should say, on it that send it back. So it's an effect, a reverb effect. But now they use plugins. But back in the day. This was and there is a story behind this reverb. Maybe I'll, if we get up there, I'll tell the
Oh
story.
yeah, we talk about gear a lot on the show. I mean, we talk about
Okay,
people, we talk about gear. We love all this stuff.
I got a
And
bunch of things up there. You know what a clavioline is?
I've heard of that.
I got one of those up there too. That I love it.
Now,
You
where
know,
are you? You're
Babe,
West Coast, right?
no, I'm East Coast. I'm in upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
But if you know what if you know the song "Baby You're a Rich Man,"
Yes.
and you know the thing that's on the left side going sounds like a Indian like saxophone type of thing. That's a clavioline.
Oh, wow.
And John Lennon played it with an orange, so it just goes. Wah, 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 wah.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, it is
So,
cool.
so we both have barns. I have a barn too.
Oh, okay, cool. Where are you?
I am in Newtown, Pennsylvania. My house was built in 1740.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Is it like stone?
Yeah, yeah. The walls, right here. You look here. This is the thickness of the exterior
Oh,
wall. At the
yes.
base, there it's about 2 feet thick. In the basement, under my fireplace, it's about 7 feet of stone. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy
7 feet of stone.
because
What
it
do you
was
mean by that?
so there was an outside wall. My house was built in 3 different sections.
Right,
And I believe I have one of those gigantic walk-in fireplaces that the people before me turned to gas, so it doesn't do what it used to do. But
right.
if you look in the basement under the foundation, that was an exterior wall, and from one side of the sort of it goes like this.
Wow.
It's wider at the base, and then it narrows as it goes
Wow.
up. But the
7 feet
base,
of
my
stone?
arms are not, wide enough to
Oh, I
cover it.
wonder why they did that. I wonder
I
what that
don't.
was.
Maybe
Stability?
I think that's overkill. Maybe because it was a fireplace. I don't know.
Because of the fireplace?
It is now, yeah, but it was converted to get. I mean, it was then. It's one of those old-fashioned walk-in
Yeah. But you're
fireplaces.
saying that the foundation,
It's
the
an
whole all around is 7 feet at the
no,
top?
only
No.
by the fireplace. The
Oh,
remainder of
okay.
the house, I
That
would
makes sense.
guess about 2 feet thick. But
Okay.
it stays cool in the summer, warm in the winter. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I guess
little bit of work. You know,
our house, I'm not in the house, I'm in the barn. The barn was built 1830s maybe, and the house is probably 1870 or 1880. But it's all bluestone from the quarry that was right in the back here.
right? So you've
Yeah.
got the hand-hewn timbers where you can actually see the
Yes.
axe
Well,
marks
I
and
can,
all that.
yeah, I can show you that one. If we go to the other part of the studio, I can show you the hand hewn, yeah, it's a, what do they call it? A
I don't even
post,
know.
post in beam, I think is
Yes,
what they
yes,
call it.
yes. Right. And I have some of the supports in my barn still have the bark on them.
That what?
Some of the supports in my barn still have bark,
Oh
like
yeah.
200-year-old bark.
So do
Yeah,
I.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Mine's
cool.
not 200 years old though.
I,
Do you know
I'm
what,
guessing it's 200. I don't
do you
know.
know what kind of wood, here, I guess they were using the hemlock and they actually wiped the hemlock out, because they over lumbered it
Right,
basically.
right, right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what mine's made out of.
Hmm.
But
And
but but
where in Pennsylvania again?
Newtown, it's right over the river. You know where I am? I'm literally a stone's throw, and I'm not exaggerating, from Washington Crossing.
From
So
where?
Washington Crossing, which is on both sides of the Delaware. So where George crossed.
So
So
that's South Philly then? I mean, South.
no, no. So it's actually I'm
Oh,
probably 8 miles as the crow flies from Trenton, New Jersey.
oh, Trenton. Okay.
So
So
north
Trenton's close
southwise,
to Jersey, right?
yeah, north southwise around the middle of New Jersey. I'm directly across.
Okay. Okay. I'm uh I'm not so far from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're
I'm about an
87. You're
hour and
87.
uh it's 17. I don't know what they call it. I think they call it 86 now. But if you went to where Woodstock was held in
Okay,
Bethel, and then go a little bit further west, some people know Roscoe.
I don't know Roscoe. Are you near
Okay.
Binghamton, like around there?
Yeah, before like an hour before Binghamton,
Okay.
Oneonta, south of
Yep.
Oneonta. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've been to those towns. One of them.
yeah,
I know I've been to Binghamton.
yeah.
So, you know what I want to do before we go further? I want to establish your street cred right now. So,
Okay.
so what's really cool? So, we just did a show with your friend Frankie Previtt,
Yes,
And we also had his wife Lisa Sherman on. We had a wonderful in studio show, and your manager or agent got wind of it, contacted me, and I very excitedly said, "Hell yeah, we'd love to have you on." So with our friend Frankie Previn, you wrote not one but two songs for the movie Dirty Dancing.
that's correct.
Um, I've had the time of my life, and it's interesting. It's such a long title. I've noticed that if you look it up, it has I've had in parentheses or whatever, what have you, and
Yeah.
then had the time of my life. But that won you a literal Academy Award, right?
Yes, it did.
That's crazy good, and it's a wonderful song at the same time,
The title is I've had the time of my life.
which is great because it makes it even more distinctive. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe Frankie mentioned this, but I think it's number 15 most played song ever.
that's well, and
Or maybe
that's
it's
a
ASCAP's 15th. I'm not, might just be ASCAP's 15th most played song ever.
whatever it is. That's an amazing statistic. And then what I read too is 60 million copies.
Of
60
the album, yeah.
million.
Between the first album and the second album, uh, More Dirty. Well, it might be 60 just the first. I know More Dirty Dancing also sold a lot, and that has The Time of My Life on it twice as a
Wow.
kind of theme.
That's and what's interesting, right now, what do we have, like 5 or 600 million people in this country? When you released that, we only had probably about 250 million people. So
So,
when you look at, and not
yeah,
that every copy was domestic, obviously, but
right.
probably most. But
Pretty
when you
much.
look at how many how many were sold in relationship to how many people
Yeah,
were in this country, take out people under 10 years old, let's say, take out
right.
people who are over 80.
Yeah.
I dare you to find anyone over, say, 30 or 40 who hasn't heard that song. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
most of the time, even if they don't know the movie, they may know the song.
Right.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody go, "Oh, I don't know that song," which is, now that I stop and think about it, is a little bit mind blowing. Yeah.
Gotta be. And then you've got Hungry Eyes. And that's another song. Um, everyone's heard it. I mean, that also did amazing. Wasn't it up to number 3 on the charts or something like that?
Number 4, Time of My Life is number 1, and Hungry Eyes number 4.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually just did, I have two records that I did this record in 2019, and I did my own. It's called The Why Because, and I did my own versions of Hungry Eyes, and actually my version of Hungry Eyes was number 22 on the adult contemporary Billboard chart.
Wow.
So that chart at the time of my life, time of my life is the last song on this record, and I wasn't going to do it because how are you going to do the time of my life,
Right.
So after finishing the whole record, I said, well, I guess I have to do the time of my life. And I just stripped it completely down.
Right. Right.
Um, oh,
You looking for which guitar?
I think I put it up in the back. It's a funky old Eggman. Well, it's called, it's made in Holland. It's a 60s guitar. I wish I had it here. It's a um, arch top.
Oh,
And it
wow.
funkiest sound, and it's unique. On that version, I don't think I can do it with it just any old acoustic
Is it
guitar.
like an ES styled or is it like the 1940s kind of?
This is not it. This is a this is actually just somebody lent this to me. This is a Gibson. I don't even know what these are. Do you know? I don't know Gibsons too well. I
No,
don't
but
know.
I hear some picks in there.
Yeah, it's not a pick. It's a friend's guitar. I actually traded him for a couple of weeks. He's got my Fender Telecaster 66. Which he's
Wow.
been dying to play, and I needed this to record something recently, so we swapped guitars for a couple of weeks. But
I mean, how many guitars would you estimate you
none
have? Right. Right.
I have to estimate because I never counted. Well, that says 1, 2, 3. Oh, here's the guitar. It's here. This is a funky ass guitar. I got this at, I don't know if you're familiar, in the West Village, there's a place called the Music Inn.
No.
It's a funky, it's been there since the 60s. It used to be the only guitar store in Manhattan years ago. It's out of tune. Yeah, way out of tune.
Does it have a floating bridge on it?
Yes, it does.
So that's got to be a challenge.
You know what? That's the beauty of old guitars.
They don't need to be that precise, I guess.
No, it's not that. They've had so much time to settle.
Oh, okay.
So, like if this is from the 60s, if it hasn't been badly tuned, if it didn't, if the neck was warped and
Right.
didn't hold tune, you'd know by now. You know what I mean? It's not going to do anything bad now.
Do you worry about the bridge slipping though, or is it sort of solid where it is?
I haven't had any problem.
Oh, that's great.
That's still out of tune, but this is what I played. It has this funky pickup too, but I just mic'd it.
Right.
The mic on here.
That's a cool 1950s or 40s, maybe.
Probably 50s.
Yeah.
Maybe early 60s. It's a Royalist, which was made by Egmond, which was Holland, made in Holland. And my first bass was an Egmond.
Really?
Yeah, and it wasn't because I was looking for an Egmond, it's because it was $35 or something. And so, but it's just kind of, somebody told me this. I didn't know this. The old arch tops,
Right.
were made to cut through. They're kind of mid-rangey because they were built to cut through a big band. You know what I mean?
Oh, that makes sense.
Is to poke through with some. So I never realized that. So anyway, that's one of the guitars.
I've got I almost want to make you wait, but I'd have to go grab it from a different part of my house. I've got I have a 1942 acoustic that looks just like that.
Oh yeah.
And I bought it for 20. I was driving on Route 31 in Jersey, and all the way across the road, there's a garage sale up on a hill, and I saw it. And I drove up there.
You saw the garage sale, or you saw the guitar?
The garage sale. I saw guitar at a garage sale, and the guy's like, "All right, I'll give it to you for $25. It needs a $500 repair, and if you get a $500 repair, it'll be worth $500." So it's not in great shape, so I use it decoratively, but it's very, very cool.
Oh,
Action. The strings are probably a solid half-inch off the
Do you
neck.
know whose guitar, who made it?
Yeah, I forgot, but it's written on it.
Okay.
But he told me, I think he said it was a 42.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe at some point I'll have you entertain us for about 1 minute, and I'll go grab it while you keep the show alive. I could. I
Okay.
could put you in charge of the show for a minute. We've never done that.
All right. Oh gosh, you don't want to do that. I won't know what to do. But
Oh, is that that's the no? That's not a rig. That's the gift. Is that the one you played on your video? Yep, I saw that.
oh yeah, right. You're right.
I was loving that.
So you saw the Hungry Eyes video then?
I did, and I wanted to talk to you about that guitar.
Yeah, it's awesome. We just been recording with well, I just finished my record, but a couple of guys that were doing solo records that from a band called The Size that were kind of popular in the 90s.
Right.
And they each did a solo record, and we ended up using this guitar a lot. It's just, it's these pickups, this is why I bought the guitar. Actually, it's
P90s, right?
These are P90s, exactly. As opposed to most tellies, I mean, most Firebirds are going to have the Firebird pickup. It's like a mini. Oh yeah. Whose guitar is that? What's that?
It's my bootlegger guitar, and we've had Chuck Wilson on the show. Chuck Wilson, who lives in Hermosa Beach, owns Bootlegger. And this is another bootlegger I have. These are also
okay. Nice. That's kind of like it's kind of like a telly, right?
Yeah, it's got a telly. It's got a different kind of headstock, but it's a great guitar. And it's sort of a semi hollow body.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I
But
like
yeah,
that.
I noticed that in your video, the one you did during quarantine.
Yes, with the masks. Everybody had a mask.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
pulled your.
we just asked people to film themselves with a mask on their iPhone sideways, and then we just edited them all together.
Oh, that's cool.
That's my version of Hungry Eyes. That's the one that, yeah.
I
That's
enjoyed that. It was very cool, and I immediately took note of that guitar. You know, it was very
hard
cool.
to miss.
What's that?
I say it's hard to miss.
Yeah, no, it's very cool.
Then there's this guy,
What is that a Gibson? That's
Gibson
not a Gibson, is it?
ES
It is.
175.
So it's not, yeah, because it doesn't look like a 330 or whatever, 335, because it's a single cutaway, right?
It's a single cutaway, right?
Yeah, that's a beautiful. I like that because it's a smaller body than the ES, right? That's
Um,
or
yeah,
no,
no, I think it's about the same
uh,
as a what?
as the but the ES 335 is the other.
35 is skinny,
Oh, right, right. But,
skinnier.
but it's a wider body, isn't it, than
This
that?
is, uh, yeah, probably, maybe, and you're right. It's a double cutaway. It's different. This is more like what do they call L5s or whatever? You know, it's kind of, this was a student guitar back then.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Unfortunately,
Beautiful.
I didn't tune all my guitars up before we started here. The last guy that was here, a lot of guys want to tune to E flat,
Okay.
and so these are all still tuned to E flat because we just finished the session a couple of days ago. But all right, I got another one for you since we're
Oh yeah, let's see. I'm having fun. Oh my God, look, not a Rick, is it?
yes, it is.
Oh, look at that. That's gorgeous.
E6 Rickenbacker.
Wow, that's a really good looking one.
Yep.
I love that with just one F hole in it. That's a cool
Yeah,
look.
yeah, I think that's how most of these are. Now that you mention it,
That's a really cool looking guitar. You know what it looks like it's from the Jetsons.
looks like what?
From the Jetsons. It has that,
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of
I
funny
wonder if
look
that guy.
about it.
I wonder if he was inspired that way. It hasn't changed. You know, the
Yeah,
new ones that look exactly the same. He never
yeah.
changed the. Let me just quickly put that back. But yeah, guitars we got. You know what? They all have a flavor. You know what I mean? That's what's amazing about them. You know,
Yeah.
I find I sit in here and I'm doing a part, and I'll try like 5 or 6 guitars, and then you immediately go, oh, all right, that's the guitar for this part. You know,
Right.
it's
Now
just
with your tape equipment, do you still record on tape ever for variety?
I haven't started on tape. Although this last project I was tempted to, I didn't because I'm kind of producing and engineering
Right.
all myself, and it's like that I'm going to do that. The next project, I just thought when you're doing drums, there's a lot to think about, and so what I've been doing is after the session, I'll run the drums through this tape machine and you can't believe it's the difference in sound. It just
Really?
adds that sack, you know,
Really?
particularly the drums. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you're using it as a mixing board as opposed to
No,
recording it.
using it as I guess you could call it a sonic,
Enhancer, maybe?
yeah, that's what you would
Yeah.
call it. You know, like a lot of plugins they have on these Pro Tools and everything else,
Right.
they'll have it, they'll have a plug-in, a tape machine to
Right.
give you the emulated sound of what it would sound like through the tape machine. So once it hits the magnets and the tape, something happens. There's a compression, there's a change in the EQ, and it just,
Wow.
it just
It's
makes
just
that
like, I guess it's like the difference between tubes and solid state. There's this hard to define warmth that you're going to get,
right,
you know?
right, right. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it's, yeah, it's it's an added, listen, you could probably listen to the song without it,
Right.
and still go, hey, I like that song. But with mixing and recording, it's all incremental, you know what I mean? It's all, this sounds a little better this way, and this sounds a little better that way. And you put that all together and it all adds up, So the last record I did, we did it digitally, but I ran almost everything through the tape machine. And it sounds like an analog recording, and I mean, the analog gear, of course, but it did record to Pro Tools, but then I ran it through tape, and then, I'm using all this analog gear. It sounded like I did record something not so long ago with my son and his friend that were recorded on tape.
Okay.
It's you definitely hear the difference. Although on one of the songs we actually recorded the drums and then we slowed them down, and then I built tracks on top of that, so it really sounds big and fat.
So will you play? So obviously you're a guitarist, which tells me I'm sure you're capable of playing bass. You're a bassist also.
I'm a bassist, actually.
More than a guitar player?
Yeah, more than a guitar. Although I I do what I need to do to get the song across.
Right, right.
And
And you're comfortable behind a drum kit or no?
no, that's my only instrument I don't play.
Oh, all right.
I did on the Why Because, and maybe on the new record too. The new record, which I just got the vinyl, it just came in, still in the plastic. It's called She Said. I played drums on one song. But I record it, and then for drums I have to edit the hell out of it to make it right. But I play a lot of this record was done on the same synth. I started with my Juno 106, Roland Juno 106, which is what I originally wrote Hungry Eyes on. Blah, blah, blah. That's a Roland 106 all the way, and that same sound when you play the pad is what that whole song was written on, and I used it on my version. And on the new record, I just started with I don't know if you know Tame Impala, but he's a guy named Kevin. Oh gosh, I can't think of his last name right now. Kevin Parker. And he loves that synth, and he's a young kid, but that Juno 106 for some reason has stood the test of times, and people are still using it. And that's what I started at least half the songs on this record on that. So I'm a keyboard player. The last two projects I've been using my organ, the Hammond organ that's upstairs,
which never goes out of style.
Never goes out of style.
Or the Fender Rhodes.
That is the one I have to hunt down. I still don't have a Rhodes. I have a Wurlitzer up there.
Okay.
But I don't have a Rhodes. I have to get a Rhodes.
There's something iconic about that.
Absolutely. I mean, they can sometimes, lead you in a more jazzy way, but where Wurlitzer's funkier and, kind of, you hear Wurlitzer in a alt country song, but you won't, probably not going to hear a Rhodes on an alt country song. Not that I do alt country, but Wurlitzer, can be on a soul tune, I guess a Fender. I got to get a Rhodes. The bottom line is,
I feel badly. I just cost your family a few bucks.
I know they're hard to find though. They're not that easy to find.
I mean,
and if you find them, they're expensive.
When did they stop making them? I don't even know.
Oh, I'm gonna guess late 80s. Late 70s, maybe early.
Yeah,
80s.
so that's a real collection.
Yeah, they're not. Somebody makes new Wurlitzers. They're not called Wurlitzer, but they're clones basically, and they're supposed to be really good. But
and then is Hammond? Do they still make them the same way?
That is a good question. I'm not sure of that. I really don't know.
Need to know. You own one, it doesn't matter.
I own one. I don't need to know, but that's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know.
Interesting.
That's it's funny with organs. That is the Hammond organ with the Leslie.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about Leslie's. Yeah.
It's classic, and it's like the only organ that sounds exactly like that. You
Right.
know what I
Do
mean?
you? I was going to ask you. The last time on this show we talked about um, the Leslie. I think was season 2 with Matt O'Ree. I think was it Matt? I don't remember. It was one. It was a. We had a great guest on. I forget who it was, but he was talking about getting it working and fixing it and all that. Do
Yeah,
you have a Leslie?
I do.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a, only because of that interview, I know there's a little to keeping them in good, solid working order. Or is yours just the workhorse?
Well, I haven't had any trouble yet, but I've
Right.
only had it for a couple of years.
Okay. Which I
You
just
want
think,
should we take a trip up there or no?
oh yeah, go do it. Let's have it.
All right. I'll
I'm
keep
gonna
it.
pop open another beer
All right, go
walk
ahead.
us up
I
there.
wish I had a beer here. Oh, I think I do up in the other
Get
room.
yourself a beer. I'll get you one. I have a few extra downstairs.
I'm keeping it all right. So we're going into the
Oh, I like your barn.
yeah, this is goes up a ways. So this is really great for drums because there's, that's just it's not insulated, you know what I mean? So
I was going to ask that.
the
Yes.
sound escapes, and the fact that it's wood all around, nothing is flat, nothing,
All right.
the reflections, a lot of deflection, which
Are you have those are modern stairs you've got in there?
somebody just built the stairs for me because this room was uninsulated, but we just insulated it. So
Oh, that looks modern in that room.
I didn't know we were gonna tour. I would have cleaned up a little bit,
Oh,
but
I like it better like this. Oh, look at that.
here's the Wurlitzer, more guitars, of course.
There's a few guitars there.
Yeah. This is one I use a lot, even though
Oh, I like that.
that's an old Silvertone. This is Silvertones were what you'd buy at Sears.
I was just going to say, I was going to ask if those were the old Sears guitars, as were the amps. I thought so. Yeah. Oh, that's a great sound.
Yeah,
Let's see. So where's your Leslie? Is your Leslie up there?
there's the Leslie.
Look at that thing. Look at that
Uh,
workhorse.
Let me start her up. Let's see if this is a good. I don't know what you can see there. Well, let's see. We get the Leslie. You can see that going. Plug it in. Come on. So with a Leslie, I mean with a organ, I can't do it because I got to do it with two hands.
Right.
You have to hold this one start button for 8 seconds,
Oh, look at that.
and then you put the on button on, and this guy starts spinning.
Is it spinning now? Oh, yeah, I can see it a little bit. It looks, I could see some
I
kind of.
have to hold it for 8 seconds, and then it should be okay. There's the bass.
Leslie doing it, working its magic. Yeah. Oh, listen to that.
Then you flick this button right here.
Right.
The Leslie starts spinning faster.
What a great sound. So you just, I just Googled something to make sure I didn't screw up the title. That you just brought me to Lighter Shade of Pale. Like it really just made me think of that song. That assuming
Yeah. Well, I kind of use that sound a lot. I forgot it now.
yeah, there we go.
something like that.
There we go.
Like
That's
I
a
said,
great room, and I'm jealous that you're insulated.
this used to be just a little, uninsulated room, and then yeah, this is kind of fun too. They put the old, oh, you can't really see. Well, maybe if I shut this off. The old, this was like an addition in like the 1900s.
I feel now we're on a episode of Ghostbusters right now. Someone's about to you're gonna hear a noise off in the corner.
Well, you could be some bats up there. I don't know if you can see the old roof. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's the old roof. And then this part of the barn was built in 1911.
Okay.
But then I just finished this room off recently. I'm gonna get my beer over here. This thing was out by the pool, but I brought it in because that's another uninsulated room.
Yeah.
All right, can we drink?
Cheers. Let's do a cheers.
All right, cheers. Clink.
Cheers. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
That's an ugly view of my hand. Or what are you drinking there?
This is made up here in Livingston Manor. Upward Brewing Company.
That's a good looking beer. I've got
Mountains.
I've got Log Yard Brewing that I got in Williamsport, PA. I just finished a Guinness before that.
Is it from the area?
I think so. Not sure.
All right, this one is really cool.
Let's hear. Oh, look at that. What the hell amp is that?
This is a Clavioline.
It's a good looking amp.
I'm gonna get my chair. Now, as I said earlier, you put your knee.
Oh my God.
Where is that thing? Hold on a second.
So you could be like Geddy Lee playing 10 things at once.
Oh, here it is. There's a little thing down here.
Right.
Knee on, but I'll just hold it. Oh, let me get this.
Is it almost like a whammy bar type thing?
It's volume.
Okay. You can do a volume swell. Oh, that's cool. That's like the orange. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly have the right sound right now, but he's just, kind of.
I love this. This is fantastic.
First, like, synthesizer. You know what other song it's on is one of the Ventures, like this one's needs some work. It's it only plays one note at once, and that's how it, so that's how you can play it with this, because it'll shut off the last note as soon as you go to the new one. Here's an old Gretsch.
What's that little amp you have there? Like that suitcase looking amp? Right there.
That's what makes the sound on for the Clavioline. It actually, I don't even understand it. It's somehow the sound comes from the tubes.
Really?
I have no way of explaining it, but
the handle looks ancient. Look at that. The handle's even sheared off a little bit.
This thing is from the 50s.
Wow, look at that.
First, I guess you'd call it the first kind of synthesizer,
Yeah. And that can't be an original speaker, though. You have to have replaced the speaker in there, right?
No, it's the original.
Really? Even the cone?
As far as I know. I don't know. I bought it from someone. As far as I know, it is. I bought it from someone, so I don't really know.
Yeah. So I've had speaker cones that are 20 years old and just sort of disintegrate over time.
Oh yeah, well I don't. Maybe you're right. I never. It looks like. I guess they could have
reconed it.
Yeah, possible. But the guy, I doubt it. I got it from some guy in Binghamton, of all places, whose grandmother had it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Or not. Or there was a time when there's probably a time in her life when she was young. I'm going to just stick my neck out and suggest that maybe she was once young.
There's
Ooh,
A K, what's that?
harmony. Look at
Harmony,
that.
yeah. It's like a K too, though. This is
Yeah.
kind of a iconic favorite through the years. It's some guys swear by this still, this bass hit it. I actually went and saw it. My friend actually does front of house for the David Byrne show on
Okay.
Broadway, and that guy in that show was using one of those.
It's very.
So
I like how simple it is. You know,
yeah, well, it was a cheap, it was cheap bass at the time.
Harmony was. Yeah, they're not. That's not a fancy company at all.
No, no, they were like, they were Gibson and Fender were doing their thing. These guys were probably a tenth of the price
Yeah.
even back then. These were the cheap guitars, but
Uh,
they were made well. There was
yep.
something about them that 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 just sound great. They still sound great.
I had
Here's
a
a,
couple of Tiscos over the years. You ever have a Tisco? That
oh
was
yeah, yes. I have one in my city studio.
right.
I always said Tisco, but you might be right. Might be
Oh no, no. I'm going to defer to you on that. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I
I
I
could be Tisco.
I got one. I don't have it anymore, but I got one on eBay a handful of years ago, and
Yeah.
the ad said it's so solid that you can use it to hammer in a fence post in winter. And I
Yeah,
just that line just stuck with me.
it
And
probably did too.
yeah, and now they're finally worth money. I mean, my first one of my first guitars was a four pickup 12-string semi-acoustic Tisco or Tisco that my local music guy sold me for $28,
Yeah, wow.
something like that, with a
Well,
floating bridge. It was just a crazy looking guitar.
a friend of mine, Pat Irwin, who played with the B-52s and does a lot of in fact, I think he just did the new Dexter show. Dexter, whatever the new Dexter show
Yeah, there's
is.
something they're advertising now.
He
So
just, he does the music for it. And he has a collection of those Tiscos. He has the more pickups, the better, like 4 pickup Tiscos. And
no, they were so over the top. I mean,
yeah,
mine
I
was
know,
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah.
And I
They're right.
was I had 0 weeks, let alone months of experience on guitar. So eventually I turned it into a 6-string because I never learned how to tune a 12-string. So I
Oh, it's a
used,
12 string. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it was a 12-string, 4 pickup, semi hollow body.
Oh,
Like it
wow.
was just completely over the top,
That sounds
very
cool.
shiny.
Yeah.
And it was like they were just trying to do, I guess, like the surf
Oh,
scene kind of thing, right?
right. Right. Well, there a lot of those guitars were in that stuff. They were made out of Chicago, I believe, and those
Oh,
Chicago
really?
pickups were a great. They were a great sound. That's what's in that bass I showed you. I forget what they're called, but there's names for them. They're cheap pickups, because they were trying to make it inexpensive, but
Yeah.
they sounded awesome. They have a very unique sound.
Yeah, it's very cool. I
So,
remember. Let's see
oh,
what
go
else you
ahead.
got here. No, you go.
Oh, all right. Well, go ahead. Finish your story. You remember
Oh,
what?
another cheap guitar. This is all like high school stuff, right?
Right.
Same music store, Bernadine's Music in Mattawa, New Jersey. I got a Fender Coronado for $25.
Oh, that's a cool guitar. That's a semi hollow, right?
Yes, it was, and that was like the Edsel of Fender. Just it never worked for them, but it was a
Oh,
gorgeous guitar. And I
yeah.
remember when I was ready to upgrade because I never could keep a guitar. I never had the money for that. So I sold it, through the want ads or something. Some guy offers me 120 for it. I said, I can't take 120 from you because I only paid
Oh,
25. So I made him only pay me 100 for it. I
oh,
remember these crazy things.
that's a
And
pretty
that
big.
guitar today, I mean,
Oh,
I think 68 or whatever it was.
well, if it was a 68 or was it 66 or 65?
That I won't know. I just know 60s. But
Okay, because 67, well, it probably still had the old parts. The CBS took over.
no,
They, they,
they were
they were
70,
saying
I thought.
yes. No, it's like 68, but
Oh,
they were
right.
still using parts, maybe 67, 68.
Oh, I didn't
They
know
were
that.
still using the old parts, and so a lot of those crossover guitars are still great. I bought a 72 bass, my first bass, for $195, and that was just post the this when CBS just bought it. It was still great. That's still worth $4,000 now, but
Yeah. But if it's
but
pre-CBS, it's a whole different thing.
yeah, whole different thing.
So let me ask you this question.
Yeah,
Something just silly just occurred to me.
yeah.
I feel like you and I are talking about those guitars with the same degree of romance and reverence you might talk about your first girlfriend about, right? Like, like you remember 195 or $194. You
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, it's true. It's very and when you turn a tube amp on,
yeah,
even the smell, it
yes,
brings
yeah,
you right back
mhm,
to being 12 years old.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I surround myself with all that. This is a reverb.
Oh my God, look at that thing.
There's a big sheet of metal in here,
So
and
it's a wooden, oh,
wooden
no,
enclosure. Inside is a sheet of metal. This is what you turn for the delay. Like this will be a tight reverb, like 1 second, like
right.
and then all the way up to 5 seconds, be a really long reverb.
That control panel looks like it's from the set of like My Favorite Martian or
I
something.
know. Well, you see this? It says made in West Germany. That's
Oh,
so.
interesting.
Yep. So this is probably in the 50s, and like I said, this is a reverb, and it's you send a guitar or a vocal into it, it hits the reverb, and you add that into the vocal sound.
Right.
You have a volume for just the reverb, and you just add it, and it just sounds, it gives it some depth, gives your vocal some depth. This reverb I bought not so long ago, and I bought it knowing that Lamont Dozier and Brian Holland, if you know Holland, Dozier, Holland, they're Motown writers.
Okay.
So I knew it came from an old Motown studio, but I knew I was dealing with somebody in New Jersey. So just that alone, I mean, so it's probably on a bunch of big Motown
Yeah.
hits.
Right.
And then it gets here, and I hired some piano movers to bring it here, and they said, yeah, they picked it up in New Jersey, and he said, the guy we got it from had a bunch of Gladys Knight and the Pips gold records on the wall, right? And I said,
Oh my God.
wow, that's got to be Tony Camillo. So I researched a little bit, and Tony Camillo, my mentor as a engineer producer is a guy named Ed Stasium, who did a bunch of the Ramones and a bunch of other stuff. And
Okay.
actually, Frankie introduced me to him. He worked with Tony Camillo, and he knows this. He remembers this reverb, and so that's one connection. He even sent me. When we get back to the other room, I'll show you the wrench that he had for 40 years. He had that wrench that goes on these bolts here.
Oh, that's funny.
He sent it to me. But then, long story short, when we did the demo for The Time of My Life, we did it at Tony Camillo's studio.
Oh,
So
wow.
this reverb was on the demo for The Time of My Life.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
all these years later, I luckily ended up with it. So I love it. I use it during mix down. I put it on the vocals, and it just it just gives another depth that you're not going to get from a plug-in.
No, yeah, that's amazing. Just while we're on memory lane, I found a connection, I think, to one of our other Guitar Tales guests. So you have worked with Brian Delaney.
Oh, I love Brian.
So,
Yeah.
so I saw on the write-up, he's been with the New York Dolls, right?
Yep.
And we had Steve Conti, who
Oh yeah, I know Steve.
I figured you would.
Yeah,
So,
in fact, we both had a record release on November 5th.
right, yeah, we just dropped a show with Steve, and we were able to get his show out I think either the day before the day of his album release.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I didn't know Steve in high school, but he graduated from my high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my same high school.
Would he be your age or a little bit
Just a
older?
couple years older,
Yeah,
but strangely, he looks 15 years younger. Uh, but maybe not strangely.
that's that
Uh,
rock and roll blood.
yeah, yeah. But I noticed when I was going through, I love all these connections we get.
Yeah, Brian plays on both my records, actually. Um, actually, almost every record I've done on my record label, OMAD, I have a record label, OMAD, OMAD Records,
Right.
omadrecords.com. And Brian, he's like, other than my son who plays on some things, Brian is my guitarist for sure. I mean, my drummer.
Right.
Just amazing. I love the way he plays.
That's fantastic. Now, one more connection, and then I want to start talking about your album. This is why,
Right?
because, which I want to help people find their way to it. So, Kara's Flowers.
Yes.
What's the backstory there? Let's hear about that.
Okay. They were youngsters at the time, and I was working with a guy named Tommy Allen, and we were in a band together, and we were producing bands together. We had a label. In fact, we had a production company. It was actually OMAD Productions. We were in a band called Ordinary Madness, and that got shortened.
That's a cool name.
Well, that's from Charles Bukowski, but the poet. But I
Does he
shortened
like
it.
write books or something?
Oh yeah, he writes books. He
I,
writes
I don't know. I don't read.
he writes books, and he's known as a poet, but he also writes books, prose, I guess. And we had a band called Ordinary Madness, and we shortened the production company to OMAD Productions. And Tommy moved out to the West Coast, so he's living in Malibu, and he was walking on the beach, and he heard this band. And Tommy's a real lover of that, Raspberries, Beach Boys, that kind of vibe. And he heard this band,
Right.
and he went over to they were playing in a garage, and he said, who are you guys? They were only like 16 years old at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And we actually signed them to our production company and did a record with them as Kara's Flowers. We went in and did the whole record, and then what happened? Then we kind of brought him to a place, and then they kind of got swiped from us in a way.
Oh, that's not cool.
And but I mean, we had points on their record that they did for Reprise, and actually they released some of the recordings we did with them, and then they went on to become they broke up, and then they reformed as Maroon 5. They added a fifth guy as Maroon 5. And actually, not so long ago, when Adam Levine was on The Voice, they asked each of the judges what was their chair turnaround moment like for them. And Adam gave a shout out to Tommy Allen and myself and said that we were the first ones to kind of recognize and turn a chair around for them. We did a great record. Actually, we did the first day to feel each other out to see if we liked. We did like 4 songs, and it is the funkiest sounding. I love it. It just really wild sounding.
I like that band. My taste goes a little more rock than them, but they're fantastic. I vaguely remember seeing them in Trenton once. Not horrible. They're not an old band, so it can't be that long ago.
What were they opening for somebody else or something?
No, they were a headliner at that point. I think I saw them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As Maroon 5.
Yeah. Not exactly. He's just off the charts talented.
No, we knew that. We knew that at the time. We were like,
yeah,
they were all talented. I'm still seeing Mickey, the bass player. In fact, Mickey plays bass on my record on one song. I asked him if he wanted to play, and he happens to be a big fan of Procol Harum, the band Procol Harum. And so this is a song I wrote with John Waite and Keith Reed from Procol Harum. And so when he heard, so he wanted to play bass on it. So he did a great job, actually.
That's fantastic. Well, let me ask you this. So your new album is, if I have it right, because you've done a lot of projects. This is why, because, right? That's the new album, right?
No, that's not 2019.
Okay.
Why?
Okay.
Because
So
that's the one that has a lot of songs that wrote. I wrote like, the time of my life, Hungry Eyes, and then the other songs I wrote for other people like John Waite and a couple of other things that were in one was in a Sylvester Stallone movie. But these are my versions of my songs that I
it's a
wrote for
compilation, right?
other people. Well, but it's my versions. It's not
That's
the
so cool. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Right.
So basically, I adapted songs that I knew that I could do for this record. This record is the new one. It's called She Said. I'll open it. It's called She Said, and that's actually my wife from when she was a model many years ago. But this record was I did
She
during
said.
lockdown basically, and she said yes, and it's songs I wrote for the first time for myself. These were written for this record for me, which is the first time I ever, you know,
That's a great
first
picture,
time.
by the
Well,
way. Who's that dude in the picture?
this
In the
one
mid?
here.
Yeah, who's that dude?
Well, I'm sorry.
Who's that dude in the
That's
picture?
me.
I know. I'm
That's
kidding.
me with before my hair.
I'm
This is
messing with you.
pre-COVID. No, this was well, COVID had just started, but I had short hair then, and then my hair grew grew
Yeah,
because. But and that's in the milk house from the barn.
that's a great shot. That's a really great shot. Now, which amp is that in front of you in that picture?
That's that Watkins, that blue Watkins you saw
Yeah,
before.
that very
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, and then there's this.
I so missed the days of
There's
vinyl. Look at that.
and there's also another picture of my wife. That
Oh, that's great. What a beautiful picture.
yeah, this was actually a famous photographer. The name is escaping me right now, but that was before I knew her actually. But and so was this is cool. You don't see this too often. The jacket where you put the
Oh,
album.
the inside, I love
Yeah,
that.
I love it too. It's
It
kind of
doesn't fall out. Right.
a modified gatefold.
Yeah.
I you don't see too many albums like this.
No.
I know it was a Buddy Miles record I remember from the 60s that was like this. There was an Al Cooper record like this. I don't even know what it's called. You
I've
know,
had a few albums that open. I'll have to
right,
take a look downstairs and see what I have there.
right,
But I think,
but a lot of them are gatefold. So see how this is just, it's thin. It's not double like this.
right.
Whoop, I gotta get to the
No,
camera.
I can see, you can see the difference in, yeah,
Right.
absolutely that
A
shows.
regular gatefold goes like this too, but the album comes out here, right?
Now, where do people get it? How are people going to find you and find the album?
Well, I guess the quickest thing is OMAD Records, OMAD Records.com. But it's in the system. So I mean, if you had to go to Amazon or something like that,
Have a
of course,
what?
yeah, I wish. Um, or Spotify, but here I'm going to give my spiel.
Yeah.
If you want to support any artist, doesn't have to be me, any artist that you like, try and buy a CD, an LP, or even a digital download.
Right.
Streaming is a dead end for artists. You can,
Yeah.
I'll get 13 million streams in a quarter, and that's a lot because of Dirty Dancing and all that.
Yeah.
And I'll get like $250 for 13 million streams. So like a band who's new and excited about getting 200,000 streams, that's a good amount of streams. That's, what is it, $5? I mean, that
Wow.
you can't, whereas if you digital download from say iTunes, which is a little hard to do now, it's hard to find, but you can do it. You'll buy it for $9.99. The artist is getting 60% of that, so they're
Right.
getting $6, $7.
Well,
There's no way you can't
and,
survive on streaming.
and I'll tell you
It's
from a
not
self.
it's not a, I don't see that it can last forever.
Right.
Because it eventually, who's going to do it? Why would, the old stuff, yeah, they can keep it going, but what new artist you can't You can't live on that. So
No.
how are you going to do
And
it?
there's another side to the pitch that I love. So I my daughter, who I'm thrilled without me pushing hard, is now a Stones fan. Who's 19? My daughter is 21, and she's sort of my gentle pushing has gotten her in a direction I like. So the other day I sent her Shambhala by Three Dog Night, and
Sure.
she loved it. And I'm going next this weekend. I'll probably she's going to be home for Thanksgiving. I'm going to give her my original 45 of that.
Oh, wow.
So the selfish pitch is to say to people, buy the vinyl because there's
Absolutely.
that tactile, nice
Absolutely.
feeling,
Yeah. And
and
how does it feel when you drop that needle? You can actually feel the electricity. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
feel dropping the needle and and then you
yeah,
hear it over there and it's
yeah,
nothing.
and I felt guilty because I've got a Denon turntable and I feel like that's too new. I feel like I
You
should
know
have
what?
something even older. You
Well,
know,
you know, I've done a lot of research in that. I was buying a lot of not as far as the turntable, but as far as the amplifiers, I was buying some single-ended amps, which are like one tube and one output, and you need very efficient speakers for that, and
yeah,
a great sound. Then recently, I went not far in Binghamton. They've been making Macintosh stereo equipment.
really.
That's where it's from, Binghamton.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the computer Macintosh. I'm talking about
No, I remember those. Yeah. No,
MCINTOSH.
I remember like just like Klipsch speakers are inefficient but great, right? And then
They are efficient. A
I thought
lot of
Klipsch are only
well,
like
they
89.
no, I think well, it depends. But the old Klipsch horns are like 96,
Oh, they
98.
are. Then I have it completely wrong. I thought
Well,
Klipsch was
it,
wonderful but inefficient, but maybe not. All right.
I'm sure they make those too, but I
Yeah.
believe they're known for the efficient
So
speakers.
how's this? I got it completely wrong and backwards. Well, there's a
Possibly. I could be
yeah.
wrong.
No, it
But
would be
I bought a 60s, finally bought myself. I went to this place called Audio Classics in Binghamton, and they're kind of like a repair shop for
yeah.
Macintosh, but they sell. I bought the classic tube amp with a classic. I forget the model number. It's a 25 or is it a 40? Something 40. But it's the classic look, and it's a stereo. It's not a mono block. It's a
Right.
stereo amp, and then the MX 110 um, receiver and preamp.
So a
And
separate wow. All right.
and let me tell you something. You just I I I believe that the kind of the pinnacle of sonic recording and playback is probably the early 60s before it went solid state.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was not even into music. He's still around, but not that into music and not an audiophile. He had a Bogan, and
Oh,
it was
sure.
a tube preamp, a tube amp, and
Yeah.
I was in love with that. They
Yeah, but
didn't even have there was no enclosure. It just sat there in our little, whatever bookshelf, and you had
yeah.
the bass, and you could see the tubes, and it was a separate preamp and amp. And I remember way back in the 70s when I was a kid, I looked it up and Bogan was the shit. Like Bogan
Yeah.
was a big deal.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and he didn't know that. He just bought a stereo.
Well, because that's what they was selling then.
Yeah.
Everything they sold was pretty good. If you look at even, I have a thing, and I was working on it with somebody, but unfortunately, Carl passed away. But we
Oh,
were, the in the 60s, you bought there was the console stereo, but there was also one you put on your uh, you know, cupboard or something. It was about, maybe this big. Crossley makes a version of it, but they're horrific. Back
okay.
in the day, they had these little tiny tube amps little single-ended tube amps with a
Yeah.
turntable. It's all in one. Speakers.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And if you could make a modern version of that, I think people would really dig it. But basically anything you bought in the 60s was tubes, early 60s, and it's going to sound good.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I love all that stuff. And then there was a company, I think I bought a used one once. What was the company where they came in kits? Not
They do
Carbon.
that.
Carbon was an amp. Carbon was a guitar amp company. There was a company that you would buy a tube kit and put
Oh,
it
Heath
together.
Kit. Heath Kit.
Yes, Heath kit.
Yeah. Yeah, Heath
Yeah.
Kit. Sure.
I
Yeah,
never bought a Heath kit new, but I don't remember what it was, but I had over the years, I had someone else had put it together, but I had
right.
a Heathkit amp at some
Yeah.
point in
A
my
guitar amp or a stereo amp.
stereo, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I,
Yep, that's the heyday.
yeah. So this is my favorite shows are when it feels like 10 minutes. I'm looking
Yeah.
at my clock now. We've been chatting over an hour,
Oh boy.
and
Well,
I love it.
don't get me started on equipment, you know.
I love one of my favorite things is to talk about gear.
Hear that? See that little thing with the red in the bottom?
Yes. Yeah.
That those are called Telefunken V72s. That's what like the Beatles were, back in the day, early Beatles. That was a preamp that they used. The thing up here, the UTA Unfairchild. Can you see that?
Yes.
That is a kind of a new version of what they call a Fairchild compressor. And if anything was responsible for the Beatles sound, or that crash you hear that Ringo does,
Right.
that's responsible. The Fairchild compressor, just some more stuff. All tubes. That's all tube. That's loaded with
Yeah.
tubes.
Yeah. I got I haven't had a tube amp since I guess would my Bassmaster have been a tube amp? That would have been a tube amp, right?
Bassmaster. Yeah, I guess so. I'm not
Probably.
sure.
But I got a bootlegger because Chuck Wilson, this company, that won't fall, hopefully.
And that's
Um,
a solid state amp. Is it a?
no,
Is
it's a
it?
tube. So,
Oh,
and I just, I'm, I, this is my avocation instead of my career. So I never indulged until I started the show, and Chuck was he was kind enough to send me a wonderful bootlegger tube amp.
nice.
There's no difference.
Can we see it or no?
No, I'd have to go 2 stories down from where I am
Oh,
now.
okay. All right.
But he makes just an old school tube amp, and it's
Cool.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Like even like my Fender Champ I had was the crappy Sultan State version, not the good kind, you know.
Oh.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know. So I think the last tube amp I had was probably 20, 30 years ago, which
Oh,
was
wow.
my
Gotta look at that.
Fender.
Oh, you have one now. You have
Now
the.
I have one, so now life is in balance. But
Yep. No, I
so
mean, to me, it's funny because I used to balk at there was a Vox made a solid state that the Beatles were actually using. They after, they started with the tube amps, and then they
yeah.
made it. And I didn't realize that those sounded good. I actually passed on one because it was solid state, but somebody tells me that they had a unique sound.
Yeah, I mean, I had at this point, God, 35 years ago, I had a Sun solid state,
Oh, a
and I
solid
don't
state. Wow.
Sun solid state. It was a
Wow.
112 that I swapped out their speaker. I put an EV in there. I have no musical history. I've said this before. You don't know this yet. I'm a shitty guitar player, but I just love this stuff. But my
Yeah.
college band played outdoors. 3,000 people outdoor concert, and they couldn't mic me. I had my volume on 2, and I filled an outdoor show with my son's solid state
Oh, wow. Yeah,
112.
of course. Yeah.
So it was a cool little amp.
You know, the, you
So
know, the, the story of Leslie West, right? As far as Sun amps go.
no,
Well, he was getting ready to play the Fillmore, and I'm
right.
going to paraphrase this whole thing because I don't know it inside and out. But they sent him, a Sun amps tube, not
The real son. Yeah, not the
the
bullshit
Sun,
son.
and
Yeah.
they sent him the wrong amp. They sent him PA, public announcement amp, instead of
So just the PA system,
guitar amp.
not an amp. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was an amp, but it was for a PA system.
Yeah.
And they had no choice. They were getting ready to play the Fillmore. So he just used that, and that's part of his unique sound with that Les Paul Jr., of course.
Oh,
But it was a PA amp that was never meant for guitars necessarily.
oh, that's interesting. That's very cool.
Leslie
So,
got what a great sound. Great
does it?
tone.
And he just passed very recently. I know.
He did.
He
Yep.
was wonderful.
Yep.
So I'm going to thank you. This is
All right.
I could do. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
you're a guest. I could do 5 hours with you. But when I had Frankie and Lisa on, I could have done 5 hours each on them. I could do.
I'm,
You only
I'm
get one
sure.
5 hour. I'm only giving you one 5 hour.
Right.
But this was
Lisa,
wonderful.
Lisa's wonderful, and she can speak. There's no
Oh, she
she
was a great guest. And
yeah, she's great.
you should. I'll email you the show we did
Link.
because we dropped it a few days ago. She belted out a song in our studio. Oh my God.
Oh,
Fantastic. Yeah, when
cool.
if you ever want to come to our studio sometime, we're in Central
Okay.
Jersey. But yeah, she belted out a song. She was amazing. So
Yeah, she's great. Quite a talent. And Frankie, of course, I've known Frankie for 30 years, probably.
yeah, they're both wonderful. So I'm gonna
Her,
so
her song
oh
we wrote together was Hungry Eyes.
wow. Wow. So omadrecords.com, right? Did I get it right?
Yes.
Because I'm looking at my crappy handwriting. It almost says DMAD records because my handwriting. I've
DMA.
got a lawyer's handwriting.
All right. Okay.
But oh,
OMAD. Think of
OMAD.
ordinary madness.
Well, love it.
OMAD.com. OMAD
omadrecords.com.
record.com. Yeah.
Buy the vinyl. Buy
That
the
would be
vinyl.
wonderful. I would appreciate it, of course. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I can't. I think people could look at my face and see how much fun I had. But I hope
Well, me
you had
too.
just,
I love gear, so
yeah,
I can talk about it all day.
yeah, me too. All right. Have a great night.
Okay. See you. Thanks.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.